These are 5 valuable lessons that people learn too late in life and they regret, wish they knew that thing before. This is Good Joseph. I make videos about this, investment, savings, and anything related to that, and general life tips as far as money and savings are concerned. And if you love that, if that is a cup of coffee to you, then go ahead and subscribe. Make sure that you leave a comment on the comment section and go ahead and like this video. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for your eyeballs. And in case you need my services at a private conversation, that is my number. You can give me a call, on text, on WhatsApp. We can do the business. Now, here are 5 valuable lessons that people learn too late in life. And you know what the lesson number 1? People usually learn this too late in life. First lesson is that people want you to win. They want you to win, by the way. They want you to win, but not more than them. Not more than them. People are happy as far as you're winning. People are happy you're winning as far as not more than them. You know, if I own a car worth 2 million, you know you can win, but don't, for God's sake, don't own a car worth 3 million. I mean, you're above me. The moment you are below me or we are at par, you know, there are two things. If you are below me, I would advise you. If you are beside me, I will respect you. I'll borrow ideas. But if you're above me, you will intimidate me. I feel intimidated and I don't want that to happen. So psychologically, people want you to win, but not more than them. That's why the moment you start doing something, I remember one, oh my goodness, I don't know whether I should say this. You realize that, let's say for example, you get somebody in the world of content creation and they were at 100,000 subscribers. And then you start. Probably you become so nice and great and whatever and people embrace you. And then you bypass that guy. And they were advising you how to be a content creator. And then you bypass them. Guess what happens? By default, in most cases, unless there is God intervenes, if you're a believer, in most cases that ends up in hatred. They will never show you, probably will be speaking or talking, but the reality is you'll always see a kind of frown in their face because you won more than them. They don't have a problem with you winning, but not more than them. And that's why you find there is this kind of hatred with neighbors. You know, they come to your place, then they see they value your place, then be like, this guy like me, I mean, there's nothing to compete with. But the moment they find that you've even changed some very small thing, like let's say a furniture, or you bought yourself a very nice telly, they come and see you are now on 75-inch telly, OLED, Samsung, and they are on 43-inch funny TV somewhere. Of course, they will feel bad. They'll be like, they won't tell you, but they will even ask you how much does it cost and whatever. Sometimes you can even hear them talking about outside there, oh, how can he even buy a TV worth that amount of money, and yet his loan is very much unkept, or probably, you get what I'm saying? So people, they want you to win, but not more than them. That's the reality on the ground. So you better be smart. Are we together? So that's a valuable lesson that you have to learn it. And the funny thing is that most people usually learn it when it's too late about their life. Okay. Number 2, very valuable lesson. Number 2, they don't care. They don't care as you thought. I realize that most people fear to do things because they care. For example, you can be in town with a torn shoes. You know, you can be torn with the torn shoes, but the reality is that you think that everyone is noticing you that your shoe is torn. But probably, if you ask people, how many have you seen that my shoe is torn? People, what? Oh, we didn't even see that. People have too much in their head. They have a lot. So I have seen people misusing their cash because people care. You know, I'm a content creator. Where I live, people will talk. Oh, we expect you to live. You know, I'm a celebrity. You know, you should be living like this. You should be doing like this. You know, as opposed to have a certain lifestyle. So you end up squandering all the money. The next minute you're begging. We've seen that in Kenya a lot with the celebrities, whereby you find somebody is, doing their luta continua. You know, every time, party after party, the next minute they're begging because they want to catch up with the expectations of the multitude. That catching up with the expectations of the multitude, it is what we call living a false life, doing things to please the people that you do not know. And by the way, they don't even care. So people don't care as you thought they do. People don't. And by the way, I always ask this very simple question, and I want you to think about it. You know, you buy a car, very expensive car, but of course you didn't buy it, you got it on a loan. You're paying a very huge chunk of cash each and every month to own that car. And it's just a liability, it's not even a business car. Then you pull over to your friends, they'll be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You shock them, okay? The next minute you go back to the realities. And if another guy pulls up next to you with a bigger car than yours, the attention now shifts from your car to their car. But now you're being left with the reality of paying that loan. Do you get what I'm saying? So what happens when it comes to this lesson is that you should do your things that are actually pleasing you. Eat where you want to eat. Dress how you want to dress. Of course, I'm not saying you just dress anyhowly, provided you don't violate any people's rights. You know, you live your own life because nobody cares. And when I say care, I don't mean necessarily on how you live your life. Nobody cares about you becoming wealthy, probably only your parents. You know, parents are the only people who would wish you bypass them in whatever the capacity. Whether the number of kids, if that means anything to you, or wealth and properties and something, parents. But the rest of the, even your brothers and sisters are problems in most cases. I didn't say in all the cases. In most cases. You'll even find that your brother or your sisters are your competitors. Somebody is doing something just to compete with you. Remember the first point? So don't think that they care as you thought. Just go ahead and do it. You fear starting that business because your colleagues, you know, if business goes south, your colleagues will laugh at you. No, come on, you just go ahead and do it. Sometimes don't even tell them whatever you're doing. That's how exactly you do the things. Point number 3. Okay, hope you're doing. Hope you're learning something, and I hope you're gonna go ahead and subscribe and leave a comment on the comment section. This one is very deep. The enemy is always closer than you think. Than you think. The enemy is always closer than you think. Yeah. Yeah. I learned this valuable lesson back like 5 years ago. The enemy is always closer than you think. Those people you say that you are your friends, they are closer to you. The enemy is always closer than you think. Probably your neighbor, your friend, your relative, your sibling. The enemy is always closer than you think. The moment you have more people knowing about your life, the more loopholes that you have that you can be attacked from. And this is why I always tell people, you'd rather, I advocate living a mysterious life. You see, what people don't know, they talk about it, but what they know, they attack. If you were to study all the coups that we had in Africa, in most cases, for example, if you read the coup of Thomas Sankara, the most popular guy in the Burkina, with the current president called Traore, that guy was killed, or allegedly, let me say allegedly, was allegedly killed by his best friend. If you go to the Equatorial Guinea, the uncle was trounced by his nephew from that position. In most cases, friends are the problems to people, but people don't know that. Let's say, for example, a certain government want to eradicate somebody, they always move closer to your people. See, if you have a lot of loopholes, you have a lot of people knows much about your life, you become prone to attack. So the enemy is always closer than you think. So it's always good to be careful. Now here you are, you want to do a very big purchase, you're telling anybody and everybody. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to. You're speaking, you're opening doors for enemies. They know, they attack because some of them are jealousy. Shut your mouth. Just don't share it unless you're sharing it to somebody whom you're helping each other. For example, say you want to buy a land, you are talking with people who understand about land and whatever, you're seeking guidance. That is okay because that's a professional way. But then if you're hanging around and talking about anything about your life to anybody in anyhow, just because they are quote unquote your friend, oh, it's my best friend. Based on what? You know, I tend to ask people, you say it's your best friend. Based on what? For me, I don't have friends. I have strategic people. I have different people who can do different things. If I need anything to do with spiritual growth, I have somebody whom I can talk to. Anything to do with finances, I have someone I can talk to. Anything to do with social life and all those kind of, they have someone I can do. So you're telling me you are my best. Based on what? Enemies are always closer than you think. So don't be, how can I say this? Don't be naive. Be very keen, cautious, and careful. Otherwise, you can even realize you're opening doors for some people, and then the next minute they attack you. You're wondering why your deals are not going through because you talked much about them. I want to do this, I want to do that. Then you find that there is a lot of implants in between you and your dreams. Then you wonder, how did these people know all these things? Because you told them. There is no other way that they could know. And this is why, if you were to study things to do with the CIA, the DCI, if you are in Kenya, or I don't know what, the MI13 or MI whatever, in MI16 in UK or whatever the thing, or what do we call the Israelites one? Is it Mossad or something like that? If they say they want to get a criminal, I may not know much about it, but we can relate in one way or the other. They usually find out who is closer to you. And that person who is closer to you, how manipulative can they be? How can they be manipulated? You know, you can have people who are very loyal to you. Those are very great people. They cannot be twisted. They cannot be manipulated. But then if you're encircling it, and this is what I always tell men, if you have a friend who is a man who has a weakness has a weakness of lust, that is a guy you should avoid like nobody's business. You see, they study your friends and they see what weakness do they have. Then they use those loopholes. See, most downfalls of people in this life is usually result from their friends or the closer people. So be very careful whom you hang around with. And of course, what you share with those whom you hang around with. Otherwise, you can get yourself into a mess. You go to the point number 4. That's another valuable lesson that people usually learn it very late in life. You know, you find somebody crying at age 45 saying that I was betrayed by my friend. You know, I got my friend with my wife on my bed. Because of that, you're opening doors for it. By the way, if you ask me nowadays, gone are the days where people can even hang around with their friends and their husbands and wives and it's team building. That is gone because you don't even know the behavior of other people. You are going for an outing with some group somewhere. Then the next evening, you find that your friend is texting your wife. Yeah, it's very nasty. Just close your doors. Just remain mysterious. Don't share anything and just be you. Number 4, very valuable lesson. If you're a believer, this is for a believer. If you're not, then you can just skip it. Number 4, God said, be fruitful, not seedful. God said you're supposed to be fruitful, not seedful. You know, people to confuse being fruitful with seedful. You know, they think like God said, be fruitful and be seedful and fill the world. And that's why most people attribute getting kids, and a lot of them is an achievement. Well, of course, it's an achievement to some own way, but the reality is fruitful becomes with you being creative, using your own gifts and skills to subdue the earth, to make sure that you transform it to your own needs and change people's lives for the glory of God. So when you say, be fruitful, it is not be seedful. Be fruitful is when you come up. For example, I'm being fruitful now. Why? I'm making these videos on this social media channel of mine called YouTube. I'm being followed by over 100, 200,000 people. They want to get what I'm sharing as far as the investments and finances are concerned. I'm being fruitful. I'm serving them, and I'm serving them for the glory of God. You get what I'm saying? That is being fruitful. And that's why, for example, if I ask you a very simple question, if then you say that getting kids is the ultimate goal that we have on earth, we remember Mother Teresa. She didn't have kids, and if she did, then I stand corrected. But as far as I'm concerned with history, she didn't have kids. But she left a legacy that not only glorifies God, but also we can remember her. So the point here is, it is you. For example, well, we all know who is Barack Obama. But do we really care about his kids, and do we really care about the wife? But Barack Obama, that's the point. That was the whole ultimate goal of that individual. For example, almost everyone knows somebody by the name Kipchoge Keino. That is a guy who broke the marathon record of less than 2 hours. We all know him. How many here knows his wife? Nobody knows his wife. How many here knows his kids? Nobody knows his kid. Because the guy was being fruitful. He used his feet and whatever to pursue that thing for the glory of God. I don't know whether he used it for the glory of God. It depends. That's why I said if you're a believer. So the point is, God said that you're supposed to be fruitful. Kids are additional supplements to whatever you are doing. You pursue that. You don't just become a father. You are a father and you are a president. You know, you're not just a father, you're a father and you're a minister, you're a father and you're a pastor, you're a father and you're a preacher, you're a father and you're a content creator, you're a father and you're a financial advisor, you're a father and you get what I'm saying, you're a father and you're a marathoner, you're a father and you're a footballer. There is something extra, not just posing at the kids. You get what I'm saying? So it is about being fruitful, not about being seedful. And by the way, I think this content should be preached in the whole continent of Africa. You know, I come from a family whereby traditionally we believe that having kids is the blessings. Sure, it is to some extent. The Bible says that the kids that you get on your youth are like arrows. But the point is, you also need to leave. And the same Bible says that the good father is the one that leaves inheritance to the children's children. That means that you have to leave something behind. That means that you have to pursue something. That's why I always tell people, you are born with that name, you have given the power to name. You can actually decide to name something and become. That is what you're supposed to do. Remember those guys who started the DHL? Those are actually abbreviations of the 3 dudes who started that company. They are not there, but the company is still there. The company outlived them. So that is exactly what happens. So in life, you're supposed to be an individual who pursues being fruitful. Use the gifts and the talents that you have to change and transform people's life. Remember one thing, that's something I always tell you. The amount of money you make is directly proportional to the number of people you influence. That's a fact. The less people you change their lives, of course, the less money you'll make. The more people you'll touch their life and transform. You know, people will pay you with their attention long enough to pay you with their currency and their assets. That is exactly how it goes by. So God says, be fruitful and not seedful. Understand and differentiate those two terms. Lastly, but not the least, of course, is that none will pay you enough. Or no one. No one will pay you enough. No matter how many times you will carry those placards and tell the government, add as our salary, or respect the CBO, the collective bargaining agreement, or whatever the thing it is, nobody will ever pay you enough. Nobody's in a business of making you wealthy. Nobody cares. It goes back to nobody cares as you thought. You know, when I finished my university, I thought now, I'm a graduate, and of course I've passed very well. I got my degrees here and my transcript, so nice. I deserve to get a job. I mean, I was told if I get good grades now, I'll get a job and of course become wealthy. Nothing. And I was working with the mentality, entitlement mentality. I should get a job and what have you. And this is why you end up blaming anybody and everybody. And of course, once you get the job, you start with 40,000. You complain, they add you another 10. You complain, they add you another 10. You add you another 10. They add you another 10. So the point is, nobody's in a business of paying you to become wealthy. Nobody. I'm not saying you should not get salary. Of course, that is the primary way of getting into the world of money. Is where you have. See, I always tell people, for you to lead, you have to follow fast. And then don't just sit somewhere and think miraculously that if you'll get employed somewhere, then your problems will. No, nobody cares about. Nobody will ever pay you enough. You see, as far as you are living in a life where someone else is determining how much you make, you always make a limited amount. Let me repeat that once again. As long as you are living a life where somebody determines how much you make. For example, we all know if you are in Kenya, if say you are a teacher, you come out of university and you go if you go to the teaching education, probably in high school, you get a salary entry of around 40,000. That's like $400 in a month or slightly less than that. Okay, again, I stand corrected. Let's say that is the figure. It has already been, you already know. Somebody has already determined how much you will make if you're an entry teacher. And they know maximally no teacher in this country will ever make more than 250,000 in a month. For example, let's say if you're a senior principal. There's always a capping. But when you get into the business, there is much money as much as you can. That is the world of infinity. And this is what I always tell people. If you're an entry into the job market, the money that you're going to start with, find out who is the highest paid. Then ask yourself, you get that amount of money today, does it mean financial freedom? Let me repeat. If you get employed today and let's say the entry salary is 40,000, find out if you're a teacher, let's say for example, find out the highest rank you can ever go in teaching. In teaching. Maybe become a senior principal. The highest amount you can get is 150,000, for example. Then ask yourself, assuming tomorrow morning they start paying you 150,000, will you define that one as a financial freedom? So the point is, so then if truly speaking right now, you get the utmost salary you can ever get in that industry, and it cannot make you achieve that what you want, then for what essence would you wait for 40 years to get that rank, to get that money in future when already the inflation is there and it will be more costly? And it's funny thing that you find people, they're not ready to sacrifice 2 years to build their own legacy, their own future, their own business, but they are ready to sacrifice the entire 40 years working for somebody. Those are questions to ask yourself. So nobody in a business to pay you the much you want. The only way you can get the much you want is by you doing your own things. Now, those are my 5 valuable lessons that you find people learn too late in life. And they get themselves into problems. And I hope you won't fall victim of these things. Glad you've gotten this point. There must be a reason why I'm making this video at this particular time. This is Good Joseph. And if you need my services again, that happens to be my number. You can pick it up there, and don't forget to leave a comment. Make sure that you hit the like button, and make sure that as well you subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in the next one.